And thank you so much for joining us today, Toru. We are so excited to speak with you today and learn a little bit more about Newsight Tech Angels and your perspective as an early stage investors in life science and healthcare. We all know that Newsight has built a strong reputation for identifying promising opportunity within life science and healthcare, and also working with a lot of promising or emerging companies as in supporting their effort. So a lot of people in the RESI community are eager to learn a little bit more about your investment approach and your experiences overall. So to start, we'd like to learn a little bit more about TechSite Angel and the areas within life science and healthcare that you focus on. If you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. The Newsight Tech Angel was created in 2022 with 19 other founding members. So this is a angel syndicate. I think it's one of the very first systematic angel syndicate that focuses on life science field, especially in the drug discovery and medical devices. We are agnostic to the regions, but we are very interested in innovations, and we focus on risk hedging. We reach out to the companies or before they qualify finance. In Japan, we focus more on the company creations, but outside of Japan, we are looking for companies that have just emerged or sort of transitioned from grants and other competitive grants, including the competitive grants, to a angel family office equity exchange. So these are the basics of what Newsight Tech Angel is. Our group, as I said, we have myself included, there are 20 members, and about 60 to 70% of them have worked in the life science field, mostly the seasoned pharma executives, and there are some incumbent pharma people as well. And the others includes the people from finance sectors, service sectors. So the remaining 40%, 40% are in that field. As our expertise goes, we are very familiar with the drug discovery. Myself, I have run, and I had three projects that I run when I was in one of the multinational pharmaceutical companies, two of which I took it to a clinics as a project leader. And there are many people in our group who are familiar in that space and have the same experience or even better experience than I do that has broad understanding with drug discovery. So that's where we really focus on, and we really want to look for a cutting edge technologies, cutting edge assets that we think will be important, say, 5 to 10 years down the road. So just to give you an example, there is a lot of hype on ADCs and even the checkpoint inhibitors. We are not particularly interested in those because those are, I think it's important from the therapeutics point of view because it is very robust, but many companies are working on it. And for any companies who are in an early stage, probably wouldn't benefit much in terms of a return of investment because it will be so saturated. So we'll be looking for something that is coming after those areas in terms of oncology and immunology space. We are really looking for cell regulations, recently we got Dr. Sakaguchi got the Nobel Prize in the Tregs. So we are looking for the regulation of macrophages, T cells, B cells, or dendritic cells. So these are the areas that we are particularly interested. And obviously, none of those are still mainstream in terms of drug discovery, although almost all the pharmas are working on it. And those are the areas that we are really looking. So our criteria for consideration is that we want the companies to go into the clinic in 5 years or within 5 years, because we think it shouldn't take that long. We want the companies to get the qualified finance as soon as possible. This is highly subjective, but we want to invest on companies that have assets that could become a mainstream or transformative 5 to 7 years down the road so that you get better tractions by pharmaceuticals or any industry counterparts. So these are the sort of area that we are looking. Thanks to RESI, I have been a regular attendant on the RESI, and the RESI fits in that space, because most of the companies are usually in early stage,
Hmm.
and then they are looking for early investors, not necessarily in the venture capitals, but family office angels like us, or them even one step before the VC qualified rounds. So that's where we have invested in 9 companies so far, actually, 10 and 11 counting. And with that, we have 5 companies actually identified through RESI.
Oh,
So that's a quite significant. Of course, we want to focus on opportunities in Japan, but when we started the Newsight Tech Angels, we had to have some tractions and some leads to a success. So we
sure.
unfortunately had to focus more on outside of Japan because a lot of opportunity in Japan is a relatively premature compared to what we see outside of Japan. So for that reason, RESI has been very instrumental. And as I said, we have 5 companies identified from RESI.
Hmm.
Due to the changes in the investment realm globally, especially in the United States, things has been going very slow, but there are more tractions via a lot of biotech and startups who are actually looking in earlier space, even the smaller funds, through the SPVs or, getting the multiple angels to get sufficient funds to at least to get them going. So we really like to learn companies like that, and definitely would like to consider investment in that field. There are other companies, that we invested that has the valuations of 10 million, 15 million. That's becoming sort of out of reach for us. So we're actually looking at the below 8 million. Our sweet spot
Hmm.
is 3 to 5 million, because that's where we think we can get the benefits in terms of return of investment. And one other criteria that we have been cautiously evaluating these days, again, due to a uncertainty of the current administrations in the United States, as well as
Hmm.
lack of tractions in early stage investment, we prefer to have a company who are discussing with the VCs or who have a lead investor. The
I see.
reason is, our fund is limited. Our ticket size is limited. It's very small, usually 100 to 200,000. That amount of money can quickly burn out. So we want to have
Hmm.
someone either to follow up or someone to run together so that the company has a sufficient funds at least for a year or a year and a half to get it going. So
Hmm.
that's pretty much what the Newsight Tech Angel does these days.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing more about Newsight Angel. Very comprehensive is and it sounded very relevant to a lot of the early stage companies within our network. I know you touched upon this a little bit in your introduction as well, but our next question is about your experience at RESI. So we know that you've been a frequent attendance at RESI and we are happen to be an avenue for you to source some of the deals that you've invested in. So, what initially drew you to participate in the RESI conference series, and how has it supported your investment effort? I know you touched upon it a little bit, but if you would like to elaborate on it a little bit, feel free. If not, just give a brief answer and we can
Sure,
move on.
sure. I don't quite remember how I got involved in Resi.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, indeed.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But maybe I was invited I got acquainted with one of your representative, and I got invited, and I
Hmm.
participated either as a referee or some sort. And that's how I got started. And there was a time that I was I was in another company, and I
Okay.
was evaluating some assets, and that's how I got to know the structures. When you're in a pharma, you tend to focus on a specific area,
Sure.
usually more matured space. Um, but I was quite impressed by the fact that the plethora of opportunities, both in early, mid levels, and the late stage opportunities.
Hmm.
And I was particularly interested in early stage opportunities because it's really well structured in terms of recruiting these companies, and And quite indeed, I was pleasantly surprised by the number of early opportunities that are available. That's how I got started, and then also started discussing with some of your representatives. And I
Hmm.
actually introduced some of the Japanese biotechs to go to the RESI. So when I first joined, there was no Japanese VCs, no Japanese biotech, but I think there are substantial numbers that are present within the RESI community, at least for the last couple of years. So
Absolutely.
and I'm hoping there will be more biotechs, there will be more VCs, because that will be helpful for us because some VC in Japan that we collaborate with may not be able to invest immediately, but they may be able to attract these guys and we can get started in the initial investment and they can do the follow on. Because one advantage for this scheme is that even though the early stage investment is limited or stagnant in the United States, there are a lot of focus on early stage investment in Asia Pacific area,
For
including
sure.
Japan, Taiwan, and Korea. I'm hoping that we can leverage some of those, to work with
Mm.
ex-Japan or ex-APAC biotech or startups.
Absolutely. And thank you, Toru, again for being an advocate for RESI and help us kind of promote our activities in countries that kind of outside of our reach. And at RESI, we always pride ourselves to be an international conference, and it's part of the mission of our firm to wanting to build a two-way bridge or a multiple-way bridge that kind of bridge technology outside of the US with the resource or network of us within the US. So we really appreciate you being an advocate and helping us achieving that goal.
Now, one of the most critical components is and for us, for angels and also the VC, is to really identify the appropriate numbers, that's one, and
Okay.
appropriate quality of early startups, and
Hmm.
we really struggle to identify those. And luckily, Resi seems to attract a lot of these guys, so I think it's really great opportunities and I enjoy participating.
I'm
Yeah.
curious, is there a particular aspect of the conference or a particular feature of the conference that you think are helpful in helping you achieving that goal?
Actually, I'm quite satisfied the way it is. The only hurdles that I need to overcome is the difference in time zone
I
because
see.
during the COVID time, you guys promoted online meetings,
Hmm.
which was much easier for me. Now I think you focus mostly on on-site meetings, and it certainly have a benefits doing that, because you get to know the companies and the person more
Hmm.
better. But for us, working on a level, I guess hybrid will be nice. Some
Hmm.
on-sites. The fact of the matter is, even when we meet at the Resi, because we are limited by 25 minutes or 30 minutes time, slot, and we say, okay, let's discuss this, after we finish the Resi. So that usually happens. I think that's something could be a benefit for us because it does require biotech and startup to pay some amount to participate. So that does
Hmm.
actually some hurdles, and then they become much more serious in terms of
Mm.
fundraising opportunities. So I think I'm happy the way it is. I just hope that we see more diverse group of people. We are particularly interested in the emerging market in Asia. Their technology may not be on the same level as others, but I think given the number of the people
Mm.
who are available over there,
Hmm.
and I think that time will come. And also, there's a geopolitical pressures or geopolitical tensions, but there are a lot of Chinese opportunities that I have seen in the past, not necessarily in the races. At the end of the day, China is a big market, and there are so
Absolutely.
many people. It would be nice to have some of those people from there as well.
Absolutely. China is definitely one market that we try to focus on a lot more, especially for this year and the upcoming years. So hopefully, like you said, we'll get more traction from there as well. And just to switch gear a little bit, can you share a little bit more about your recent investment in Eptidel Therapeutic, and especially on what really stood out about their team or their technology when you are like first interacting with them?
Right. So the Aptadel was introduced in RESI. So that's a Spanish company
Hmm.
located in Barcelona, I think. We initially started with the discussion, and they are very modest, very different, and they are not aggressive.
Hmm.
And but they are very, pinpoint focused. They said, "Oh, we
Okay.
need to do this. We want to do this." And I wasn't actually quite sure how they're gonna go about because their team was very small and they do have
Mm,
expertise. And then the idea was a spin-off from the university. We weren't really sure, but the CEOs and other management team was very diligent on getting the funding, and that they have secured the grants from one of the foundations in the United States. And that's where I thought, okay, so these guys can really push the limit. The technology-wise, we were interested from the beginning. They were working on oligonucleotides, and they were trying to combine two different oligonucleotide modalities into one. That's challenging from the manufacturing point of view, but it could potentially be a transformative because you're trying to work on the drug delivery as well as the actual efficacious components in a single group, in this case, the oligonucleotides, just
mm,
using a different platform. I shouldn't be saying too much in details, but I thought their technology could be interesting, can be leveraged. I mean, they are focused on a very specific area, but we were hoping that their technology can be leveraged in other field, the much bigger market. And we haven't really reached out to discuss the potential expansions, but we have had sufficient discussion for us to, at least help in the initial investment.
perfect. That sounds awesome. And this would be very helpful for a lot of the companies who are looking for fundings through RESI and interacting with a lot with investors with us. And we're also curious what quality, because you interact with so many different startup at RESI or at conferences or through different avenue. So what qualities do you look for in the early stage companies when you're like kind of first screening them or you're interacting with them as a potential investment opportunity? What's the quality that you look for?
For us, the team structure is going to be very important. There has to be some scientific merits, but the scientific merits, especially at the stage that we are evaluating, can be highly subjective. We don't even know whether that works. So there has to be a strong narrative on why they think that works, especially from the group who have expertise in drug discovery. And it doesn't have to align with the current discovery paradigm, but
Mhm.
something innovative, something that really shines. And so that's what we are looking for. Again, this is highly subjective. I can't really define what is the best. Um, and then also I think we really look carefully at the team, especially we are not native English speaker, myself included. So they have to be patient to explain some of these, and they have to be able to understand what we are trying to get at.
Mm,
We try our best to convey our message, um, so they have to be receptive in that sense. That's more our side. And most people are like that. And I don't have any complaints. But we want to avoid any possibility of lost in translation. And that could actually
sure.
happen. So I think the mindset of team is extremely important. So we usually have a couple of discussions before we really engage in the serious discussions, just to make sure the team is ready to discuss potential deals further. Those are something that they're looking for, but this is probably true with every other investors. three things that we are looking for. Again, coming from those who have worked in the industry,
Hmm.
uh, two of which I already mentioned. One is to go to the clinical trials within 5 years, because anything beyond 5 years, the chance of success becomes significantly lower, at least based on my experience and statistics. And then the idea must be tractable in next 5 to 7 years, not
Yeah.
now, not 3 years, 5 to 7 years. And again, this is highly subjective based on our predictions. So it may not be the correct one, but we have our own way of evaluating, so it has to fit in that. And one other thing is that that may be unique is that we want to make sure the company can demonstrate a significant advancement in the stage. So in the drug discovery stage, there are certain criteria, what we call the advance into the next stage. For example,
Sure.
going from pharmacology to GLP talks, or going from GLP talks to the IND, that even to the external party, it's easy to understand. So we want to make sure from the time we invest within 3 years, it gets significant um, advancement, you know,
Hmm.
in terms of drug discovery space. The medical device may be even faster within a year or two. This could be, going from some proof of concept in animals to FDA or IND, for example, something
Hmm.
like that. So those are something that we actually look for, in addition to the team and the spirits that they have, spirits that
Perfect.
company has.
Which is important too.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you so much, Toru. This is very helpful information for for a lot of the the RESI startup community to know. And then my next question is also kind of along the line of that, which is what from your perspective, especially as an early stage investors who has worked on I would say an international level with a lot of US company and also international company. From your perspective, how could an entrepreneur best be prepared to engage with investors, especially in a setting like in a conference week or in RESI? How should they be prepared? Do you have any, I guess, practical advice or some tactical advice for them to think of from your perspective?
That's actually a very good question. I'm trying to figure that out by myself, because I also run my own biotechs.
Hmm.
If they're reaching out to the company, to say pharmaceutical companies, they need to know
Sure.
that company, right? Because it has to,
Hmm.
as I said, they have a very narrow focus, and they have a very specific agenda that they want to identify. As for the angels, at least our group doesn't care much
Okay.
on our behalf or what we do, but we are more focused on technology and its doability and scientific merits. So we welcome any opportunities, but if this is like something that other people are doing, or it's highly competitive, or something that is a sort of a revisiting the old drugs, that being like a biosimilar or something like in best in class, that's probably not something that we will be looking.
Mm.
And that's probably the field of industries and the VCs who wants to have a more clarity on probability of success. So I welcome any opportunities, but it will be, we are scientists after all, so we want to see more data. So, obviously you can't really put everything in the pitch slide, but it would be nice to have a separate deck to show, what their scientific merits are. If they can send those together, I think for us, it will be very helpful.
Absolutely. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Toru. definitely some very practical advice for some of the companies. As you know, a lot of the companies at RESI are very early stage companies. Maybe it's their first time kind of starting a fund to fundraise on a global scale, or they might be someone who come from academia background and it's their first experience in business development or in fundraising. So those advice are very helpful again to our
Yeah.
audience. So thank you
So
so
let me actually
much.
add one other thing. I think just to
Okay.
remind me something. A lot of
Sure.
discussion I have had is that, usually the BD people comes or what's
Hmm.
considered to be a BD comes. So they talk about the business and how great the opportunities are in general. But when I ask for the scientific questions and they said, I need to get
Mm,
back to you, which is fine. But the time is of essence, right? I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to this space, so if they have deck prepared, for to demonstrate not only the business merit but also scientific merit separately, so they can quickly shoot those. And most of the people in your group or in who attend the Resi do that. But if you have those prepared, then you can the investor has a very skewed expectation. Some really wants to see the business, some
mhm.
really wants to see the science.
Yeah.
So I think it would be helpful to have a both, just in case.
Yes, to be prepared for
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. It wouldn't
Awesome.
hurt.
It wouldn't hurt. That's true. Thank you so much, Toru. That's very helpful too. And my last question here, which is a little bit high level, I guess. So looking ahead, for the next, I guess, maybe the next 12 month or even longer period of time, what trends or opportunities are you most interested in or excite you the most within life science and healthcare? We can do a little bit of a, I guess, bigger picture thinking here. So we're
Right.
curious. Mhm.
Well, we will continue to the drug discovery, but we can no longer ignore the AI or machine learning.
Sure.
But I don't
Mhm.
want to get into the field of, leveraging machine learning and AI to identify the molecules or identify the feasible path, which is a common methodology that these days. So we want to really look at something that implements the AI or machine learning in a different area, you know, um, in terms of a drug discovery. We don't really know because we haven't seen it. But a lot of this kind of hypes on AI is great, but if I hear one, I usually hear hundreds others. So we haven't really seen this unique differentiation, at least to the point I can understand. I'm sure can they have some idea of the differentiations, but from someone who's not familiar in the area, that's it's very difficult for me to understand what is the differentiation. So that's something we are really looking for. And we are also looking for a SaaS field, SaaS and healthcare SaaS field that I think will become more important. And a lot of pharmaceutical companies would have a subdivision within the companies to focus it. Again, just like AI, they can no longer ignore the power of SaaS and HaaS using social
Mm.
network or other platforms. So those are the areas that we'll be looking into as well.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Toru. I don't have any other questions for the interview, and just wanted to thank you again for joining us today and sharing your valuable insight with the Resi community. I thought these are all very helpful, very practical information for a lot of the startup within our community to know, as well as some other investors as well. So thank you again, and we appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Well appreciate it.